jump up, people, are you ready?
Hello everyone and welcome again to On Tour. It's the cricket program where we look back at what happened in the West Indies versus Sri Lanka series. Of course, the West Indies winning that T20 series 2-1, and it was now on to the 50 overs. And what a controversial start we had. I'm Barry Wilkinson. Thank you so much for joining us here on Flow Sports. Well, it's West Indies 1, Sri Lanka 0. After the first ODI being played at the Sir Viv Richards Stadium. But it was a lot of action, I can tell you. Let's look at the scorecard first of all, and I will tell you what happened there, of course, on the field. Sri Lanka making 232. They were going great guns at 95 without loss, but then things just fell apart. Gunathalaka top scoring there with 55, and Kuritharaka, he made 52. Jason Mohammed, 2 for 12 to lead the way for the West Indies with the ball. And then it was all about Shai Hope, 10 ODI centuries as the West Indies made 236 for 2 to win quite comfortably with about 3 overs to spare. Hope, 110 from 133 balls, the first time he's played for the West Indies in almost a year, and that included some 12 fours and 1 6. Earlier, a great opening stand between himself and Evan Lewis. Lewis got 65 before he was dismissed. And then Darren Bravo, with a couple of sixes, was beginning to look pretty good. He actually came unbeaten on 37. So it's the West Indies winning and drawing first blood in that one-day international. But we're going to get straight into what was perhaps the biggest controversy of the day. Our star-studded panel, of course, led by Philo Wallace, the former Barbados and West Indies opening batsman. Our BBC and international correspondent is Johnny Barron. And we welcome back our top regional correspondent, none other than Vidon Mamchan. Gentlemen, hello and welcome again to On Tour. Philo, let's get straight into it. The issue of the day, no doubt about it, what happened there in that 22nd over with the captain, Kieron Pollard. Let's talk about it. We're going to be looking back at what really happened. Of course, the batsman stepped on the ball, or he was trying to get out of the way, or perhaps the umpire thought that he did indeed obstruct the field, and that's why he was given out. What are your thoughts on this particular controversy and incident, Philo Wallace?
Well, Barry, I don't think it is cricket at its best from West Indies captain Kieron Pollard. Obviously, the Sri Lankans were into a very good partnership, but the batsman pushed the ball on the offside of the pitch, set off a single, and then he sent his partner back. He did not turn around to go back to make his ground. He was running backwards, and in going backwards, his left heel hit the ball and obviously shifted out of Pollard's way. I don't think the batsman deliberately stepped on that ball. And I take that when you look at Sri Lanka, Barry, the Sri Lankans play very clean cricket. They're never in controversy. And that young batsman, he was batting well. And why would he want to stop a ball and shift it out of Pollard's way so that he can regain his ground? He's just a few meters out of his ground, so it wasn't a big threat that Pollard was going to run up the guy. And I thought that the umpire, the television umpire, did not really look at it in its true sense. I thought it was unintentional. But we had a lot of debate about it on some cricket chats, and former umpires saying once the batsman impedes the fielder from getting the ball, he's out. But there's something called intention. He did not intend to move the ball, and I think it was a harsh decision, and it's one that I believe that on reflection, Pollard, being the man that he is, would have gone up and said, "Look, I'm sorry, boy." But in the heat of the moment, the way all the Sri Lankans were going, you're looking for a wicket and you appeal, and he has the right to appeal. But the umpires obviously need to be a bit more manly in what they're doing. Just don't do things willy-nilly. Obviously, yes, the soft dismissal was out by Joel Wilson, but the third umpire, I believe that the third umpire, the television umpire, had some rights. He could have asked Joel, "Look, you really think that this is out?" And he can make a decision. I didn't look good for West Indies cricket, and I think it dampened the whole game. They saw the Sri Lankans, their heads dropped. Their coach, Mickey Arthur, was furious, and he would be because that guy was batting wonderfully well. And I thought it was a dismissal against the run-off player.
Johnny, this is not the first time that this kind of incident has happened. Perhaps for the first I can think of West Indies cricket in a while. But we have seen incidents like this before. I can remember Ben Stokes, for example. What other incidents of obstruct the field do you remember, Johnny Barron?
Well, one famous one is Michael Vaughan in India. I think in the tour back in 2001, picked up the ball inadvertently. The Indians appealed, and it was given out. Handle the ball, and the handle the ball, of course, is now obstructing the field. There's that rule, if you like, catches all. I don't think Kieran Pollard should be vilified here. He was impeded, with no doubt. He was impeded. Was it willful? Is the question. Was it willful? Is the question. But he was impeded from enacting a run out at the non-striker's end. Now, bear in mind, in about 3 overs later, the non-striker was ran out again. This is quite habit forming. The Sri Lankans, there were the obstructing the field and 2 run-outs in the field. It was a legitimate attempt of Pollard to get the ball, and he was impeded. The really big question is this matter of whether it's willful or not. Did the batsman deliberately impede Pollard? And I still think that's slightly open to debate. He didn't exactly rush back to his crease, did he? I mean, that's one thing you can argue. You really need to clear the area of action as a batsman. That's your responsibility, in my mind. And also, the other thing I would say is that cricket has a terrible habit of being incredibly hypocritical. There are players who are screaming blue murder who would never, about Pollard's actions and the West Indies' actions and the decision, who wouldn't walk for a bus, let alone leave the crease if they nicked off, which is considered cheating if you don't walk if the ball touches the bat and is caught behind. So I really think that there's some real moral high ground being taken here, but I don't think any blame can be levelled at Pollard. It was up to the umpires. He had every right to appeal. It's just the real debate is over whether it was willful or not.
Was it willful in your estimation, Vilan Mamchan?
I don't think so. I don't think it was a willful action by the batsman. Although Pollard was well within his rights to appeal, I thought the third umpire should have shown a little more mettle and, be a little stronger in, analyzing the situation. Did he analyze it well? I think that's the thing that's up for grabs.
Well, Darren Sammy, the former West Indies captain, he sent out a tweet right after the incident. He obviously didn't agree with what Pollard did. He actually said that he wouldn't have appealed. At the end of play, however, Pollard and Lanka, they actually met. We saw some images there of the two. I don't want to say making up, but it looked very much to me like they spoke about the incident, and they might have said, look, emotions run high. We wanted to get your wicket, and perhaps I'm sorry. I'm not sure if that's what's said. I'm not quoting Kieran Pollard at all. But I'm just saying that the images certainly look much more friendlier than what we saw earlier during the day. So it's a situation where that the West Indies were able to peg things back. They were pegged back, though, initially by a fantastic catch, ironically, by Kieran Pollard. He took a really, really good catch. And would you say, Philo, that was the turning point initially then that pegged the Sri Lankans back after they're going great guns? That catch by Kieran Pollard was sensational.
Well, Barry, you always say in the cricket terms that when the partnership is building or when the partnership is in flow, you need somebody to do something special. And obviously that person was Kieran Pollard, the captain of West Indies ODI squad. He's a big unit, and he did wonderfully well to grab that cotton ball, because we saw, is it Rutherford? Not Rutherford, sorry, Shepherd. Missed a couple of cotton ball chances. Yeah, Shepherd missed a couple of cotton ball chances. So Pollard obviously made amends, and that act of brilliance really lifted the spirits of the West Indies team. And that is what you need from a leader, to just stand up sometimes and do those brilliant things. And you can pull the troops together. And obviously, as you saw, they've reined the Sri Lankans into a target, which they could have gotten in the end very easily.
Yeah, Jason Mohammed, he got 2 for 12. Kieran Lanka, he got 52. So the Sri Lankans, 232. On that kind of surface, shouldn't have caused the West Indies much problems, and it did it. When we come back, we're going to discuss Shai Hope. He might be struggling in Test cricket, but this man is not wanting for any form in one-day internationals. When we come back, the West Indies reply right here on Tour.
Put up your hand, it's time to party. Turn it up to the top, it's time to jump up. People, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand.
We're back on Tour. Of course, just let's remind you that the third one international was supposed to originally start at 1:30 in the afternoon. It's now going to actually start at 9:30 like the other two. So just as a programming note right here on FlowSports. Now, Vinod Mamchan, let me come straight to you. Shai Hope, dropped from the Test team over a year ago, and he's been able to find his feet. He had COVID-19. He started the year off in some bad luck, getting COVID-19, and then he was unable to play the majority of the Super 50. But when you look at how he batted yesterday, 110 from 132 balls, 12 fours and 1 6. His form was magnificent. What makes Shai Hope such a special batsman, Vinod Mamchan?
Oh my, Barry, you said that, unfortunately he got COVID, but the way he batted yesterday, people will be lining up to get COVID. He was really, really absolutely
I'm not too
brilliant.
sure about that, but yeah.
As my good friend Phil Wallace always says, he's as smooth as Harvey's Bristol cream, but until the very last drop. He was really excellent. I think he has become the greatest ever for us wicketkeeper batsman in ODI cricket, even at this early stage in his career. I think he has really, done that. And looking at on some other programs, I was analyzing Barry that what we needed and what was missing in the T20 series was batsmen who could have played spin proficiently. And there we had yesterday two of the guys who came in for the ODIs, and that was Shai Hope and of course Darren Bravo, and they were able to handle the spin really, really well. Shai Hope, I think when he's in this sort of form, he's spectacular to watch. I think he's the greatest thing in the Caribbean when you look at him in this sort of form. And I think what he has done, he has given the region great hope moving forward.
Johnny Barron, from an international perspective, he's got 10 centuries now, averages mid-50s. He's got over 3,400 runs now. Look, what's the limit for this young man? He's only 27.
I think that there's no limit. I think he's an absolutely exceptional talent. 10 hundreds in 75 innings. I mean, that is world class. And he's the third leading scorer since 2017. Only Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are ahead of him. And only Rohit Sharma since 2018 has scored more hundreds than him. He's got 8 and Shai Hope has 6. He is a wonderful, wonderful talent. And the fact that he's averaged 61 in the past 3 years is incredible. And I think just from an outsider's point of view, you look in, you just think, this guy has to play Test cricket. Surely, with those numbers, he made Hasaranga look completely toothless yesterday. He has to play in the Tests. They've got to build a side around him, almost like England tried or didn't do with somebody like Graham Hick. He's a bit enigmatic. They need him to be playing Test cricket. Outstanding stuff.
Fellow, let me put this one to you, because I'm wondering, the Test squad has not been named yet, at least up until where we're doing this show. Would the selectors be tinkering and thinking to themselves, surely we have to include Shai, the way he's playing the spinners? Surely we must include him now with this kind of form. Does he have a chance to get into that Test team after being dropped after England in 2019? 2020,
It's a very good question, Barry. Shai Hope yesterday showed a lot of class. The key to his batting was his balance, his head position. He always got into the right position to execute his shots. The lead selector, Roger Harper, said they have no headaches picking the squads for this series, but I know they have headaches. When you look at how he batted yesterday, he opened the batting, white ball cricket, on a pitch obviously prepared for one day the national game. He looked good. He would keep, and then he opened batting and he scored 130, 100 and 110. And the class in which he showed is unbelievable. Now, to put him into red ball cricket where his form has been down, I think I would have to be on the side, Barry, that they will have to try and find some way to include Shai Hope, given that he has not played red ball cricket. It is a big issue, because they're saying, look, to play for West Indies, you need to do X, Y, Z. Now, this guy has come and scored 100 against an attack that we were struggling against in the T20 series. And they just completed a 4-day trial game, and one side was bowled up for 112 in their second innings. And then a side lost 6 wickets, chasing 90 yards for victory. So when you look at the way in which he played, I think the selectors would be hard-pressed not to include him in that Test match. And that is why it's so important too, Barry, that some of our Test match cricketers should be playing in the ODI series or even around the ODI squad, so they can get a sniff of what the Sri Lankans have to offer. Because we saw a difference in batting and approach to batting spin yesterday because of the 50 over game, 300 balls. not T20 where you're looking to score on every ball. And the guys batted wonderfully well and they nullified the slow bowlers. So Sri Lanka now have to rethink their strategy for the second ODI.
Johnny Barron, as I asked you this question, I put it to you that Evan Lewis as well was perhaps happy to get back among the runs. We saw that in the T20 team, but just tapered off in that last one or so. But he'll also look pretty good. And I think with Lewis and Hope, you found yourself a good partnership that could see the West Indies well into the World Cup in the next 50 over World Cup in 23.
I think he's an outstanding player. I think 65 off 90 balls. And the key for the West Indies, wasn't it? It was just to make sure that they had a really quiet first period of play and to get a solid start. And that's exactly what these two class acts sort of provided for West Indies. No dramas, no problem. And Evan Lewis, I have to say, looked absolutely superb. And absolutely, you need to be building around people like Shai Hope and Evan Lewis when you're moving forward, looking at the next World Cup. Big win for this, big win for West Indies. They needed it, having lost 9 out of the last 10 against Sri Lanka.
And how do you see the victory for the West Indies, Vinod? They needed this good start.
Definitely, they needed a good start. I think they needed to, say to themselves, or they needed to find out for themselves that they could have countered the Sri Lankan spin attack. And I think that's the biggest thing moving forward. As Philo was saying, there is a situation where we have the test matches coming up, and Shai Hope should be included in the test team. I want to agree with that. I also want to agree with Philo's point that some of our players should be in and around the ODI team, because you don't want to go into a test match and you have no knowledge of what the Sri Lankans have to offer. Remember, they're a young team, and the way Shai Hope dealt with them, he showed experience, he showed class.
Who are some of the players you think those should be like around the team? Because they are playing a best of the best at the moment, but Sri Lankans are obviously not playing that. But who are some of the players you would try and encourage and give a game to? Perhaps if the West Indies go into the third game 2-0 up, who would you throw in there that you are certain will be in the test side?
I think that Roston Chase definitely is one of my players I would like to see in and around the 50 overs team. I think he has a future in 50 over cricket, and definitely he is one that I would like to see, in and around that team.
Philo?
Well, Barry, look at it. Coming out of Bangladesh, the guys who scored the runs in the test series are some of the guys who play in the ODIs. You had Kyle Mears who played in the ODIs. You had Nkuma Bonner who play in the ODIs as well, and both of those guys scored runs. And we have to try to incorporate them into our ODI setup. I think that, as Vinod said too, we saw a class batsman in Shai Hope at the top of the innings, batting and playing authentic cricket strokes. And what Shai Hope has done, it helped Evan Lewis to realize he doesn't have to go for power. I mean, he did go for power, he scored runs. So we would like to get some of our test match cricketers around that ODI squad so they can continue to evolve as test match cricketers by using the ODI format, because they have a long time in which they can build innings. And you got, he said, Roston Chase, you got Bonner, you got Kyle Mears, who is there at present. Obviously, you've the big keeper is Shai Hope, but you still have to find maybe a room for someone like Joshua De Silva, because we can push them around. Shai can keep wicket. Joshua De Silva is a guy who I think can do well for West Indies in that format as well. He has the capabilities and the mentality to play a 50 over cricket and test match cricket. But again, it's the balance, how you're going to get them fit into that squad. But it's good to have depth now, and hopefully we'll see our players continue to push hard for higher honours and performing better and consistently.
Yeah, well said, Philo Wallace. So the West Indies then winning by 8 wickets, and it was indeed a good victory. The match will be remembered for that controversial moment and also for Shai Hope's brilliance. When we come back on Tour, we'll hear from the man of the moment, Shai Hope. Don't move.
Just put up your hand, it's time to party. Turn it up to the top, it's time to jump up. People, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand, it's time to party.
So we're back then for the last lap of On Tour. Shai Hope, a magnificent 110, undoubtedly the man of the match. We also hear from the Sri Lankan side.
First up, the last 4 times you batted in ODI cricket have been against this opposition. What's it about it that you enjoy?
Just batting, honestly, just batting. Just love to be out there in the middle and doing what I love.
Yeah, you seem to put a high value on your wicket early on, and then when you get to 50, you always seem to convert. Is that something that you work really hard on doing?
The key is just about staying there as long as I can for the team. Obviously, you want to bring home the game for the team. I wasn't able to do it today, but that's the aim.
What's been the key ingredient for you today to achieve the type of batting success that you enjoyed?
Just patience, just trusting my ability, understanding the situation, and trying to be as aware as possible. Make sure that you negate the threats that they throw at us, and just finish the game.
And in terms of the bowlers today thrown at you from Sri Lanka, which one you would say challenged you the most?
I think all of them bowl well in spells. Obviously, Hasaranga is the main threat. I think that we played him pretty well, and we know that he's the biggest threat, so the aim was to make sure he didn't get any wickets. Again, everyone bowled pretty well in their spells, but we came up victorious today.
You became the 8th player, and West Indian player that is, to score 10 centuries or more in ODI cricket. What does that mean to you?
Well, thanks for the information. I didn't know. But yeah, it's a great feeling. I just want to go out there and score as many runs as I can for the team and win as many games as I can.
And happy to be back in maroon colours. The last time you played in ODI would have been about a year ago. How special is it today to start and return with a century?
It feels great. Being away from the game for so long, that's pretty much all you know. You grew up playing the game, and the main thing you want to be is out there and just enjoying what you love. So it's a pleasure to be back, and hopefully I can stay as long as I can.
I've got Dimuth Karunaratne, the captain of Sri Lanka, with me. First up, Dimuth, in your estimation, what were the significant factors which contributed towards this defeat for you?
Yeah, I think once we got a nice start, I think we lost a couple of wickets, and even though those other run out, so that was a crucial part. And then we were short of the 30-40 runs, and even me and Danushka could have bat longer for a long period. Then it could have been a different story.
Yeah, I mentioned before an 8-wicket win for the West Indies. That is an indication that your bowlers struggle to penetrate the opposition and to take wickets. Any reason or reasons for that?
Yeah, I think 230 is not a good score in these wickets, and they were new. They need to handle the one as really well, and then they're not panic, and they was keep getting singles, and they were protecting strike, and Shai got a start, and he was finished off with the 100. So that's what matters. That's why I said at least we need with this side. I think we need 280, 260, 280 plus runs.
Gunatilaka was dismissed in a unique fashion, the first time for a Sri Lankan batsman to be dismissed obstruction. How does that and did that impact your team?
Yeah, I think he's the one who got a nice start, and once I got out, I thought he will bat for a long period, but suddenly he was run out, and then we struggle a lot, and it's not easy to bat the new batsmen on there, and they were bowling really well and bowled tight line and length, and they were keep putting pressure on us, and we keep giving wickets. So that's what matters.
Thank you so much. So then we're on to the second One International, which starts, of course, on Friday at 9:30 again in the morning. Johnny Barron, do you think the Sri Lankans will make any changes, and how do you see them trying to claw their way back into this series, just like they had to do in the T20s?
It's a good question. I don't expect Sri Lanka to make too many changes going into the second ODI. I mean, for large parts of this game, they played some good cricket, 100 up in the first 19 overs. And then, of course, the spate of wickets and that moment of major controversy. They just need to forget that, move on, put it to one side and start afresh in that second ODI. These games are critical when it comes to the kind of bottom-ranked nations in ODI cricket.
Yeah, that's 10 points the West Indies finally got off the mark in this championship to try and get into the World Cup. So, Philo, any changes for you for the second One International, same team?
I think West Indies will play the same team. Barrieta, Captain Potter, will be happy in way how things went. I thought Alzarri, Joseph both good aggression, which is good to see. And obviously the batsmen, when Nicholas Puran don't get a hit, that is very good, and Pollard himself. So I think they'll go in with an unchanged side and just look to see, this one-day series, don't give them a sniff to win and then have the last one all to play for. Look to sew it up early so they can make some changes going into the third and final ODI.
And you, Vinod?
Yeah, definitely. I think both teams will go in unchanged. The Sri Lankans would consider the fact that, fellas like Angelo Matthews got to run out. So I think they would just go back in with the same team. They'll look to tighten up in certain areas. Obviously, they would have looked at certain footage from the last game about Shai Hope and also the way Evan Lewis approached them. So I think they're going to go on change. The West Indies, definitely, there's no need to change that team at this point in time. But Barry, just before I go, speaking about changes, a recommendation has been made to the West Indies Cricket Board by the West Indies Selection Committee to have Greg Brathwaite as the West Indies captain in the Test series. We wait to see if that will be approved by Cricket West Indies.
All right, so Vinod Mamchand giving us there a major scoop, as you would say, and we'll wait to see if they indeed accept that recommendation. Interesting stuff. All right, thank you so much, Vinod Mamchand. Thank you so much, guys. You've been watching On Tour. We'll be back again, of course, on Saturday for a review of what happened in that second one international. I'm Barry Wilkinson. Goodbye for now.
Jump up, people, are you ready?